Hey, it's Keisha. Welcome and welcome back. So today I thought we would talk about tithes and offerings, what they are, why they're important. So let us begin where we like to begin, and that is by first closing our eyes. Just taking a deep breath in and letting it out. Another deep breath in and out. Just collect yourself, feel yourself becoming more whole and more present in this moment, in this space, in your body. On the next inhale, pick up any cares, concerns, worries, or drama and just release them on the exhale. Lovingly and gently call all of your power back to yourself. And if you feel like you're attached to any person or any situation, just release that attachment. Likewise, if you feel like something's attached or corded to you, just go ahead and release it and let it go back to source. Present, whole, and free. Breathe that in. Now see a column of white light coming down over you. Breathe in that light. And we'll lift up in consciousness on that column, lift up to a space of peace, of oneness, out of earthly cares and physical grounding. Just lift up higher and higher. Feel yourself freer and lighter. Held and nourished by your Creator. Feel that universal force all around you. Relax into its peace. Relax into its love. With your heart open and your mind open, gently open your eyes. So, tithing. It's a big one, y'all. Big enough that I decided to create notes. So if you see me looking down, that's where I am. Tithing, what is it? Tithing is acknowledging God in matter, acknowledging the universe in matter, by giving 10% of your income to the person or place where you are spiritually nourished and fed. At its most basic, tithing is partnering with God, partnering with the universe in your matter. And for those on the spiritual journey, it's often a later step, right? After you first partner with God in spirit through prayer and meditation, then as we go deeper, we find we want to partner with God in our matter. And the biggest weight of matter, the most substantial aspect of matter, divine substance made tangible, is in our money. Right? So we have the first biblical reference for tithing coming from Abram, who is later becomes Abraham, where he tithes to the king Melchizedek after he saves Lot from the battle with the 4 kings in Sodom and Gomorrah. And then again in Genesis, I think, so the Lot story and Abram tithing to Melchizedek is Genesis 14, 18, verses 18 through 20. Tithing comes up again with Jacob in Genesis 28 and his success covenant, where he says, or where it says, then Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God be with me and watch over me on the journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return safely to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God, and this stone that I have set as a pillar will be God's house. And all that you give me, I will give a tenth to thee. Okay. So that's in Genesis after Jacob has wrestled with the angel, and he's going back to his home to deal with the aftermath of having stolen his brother's birthright. Okay. And it's a success covenant. It's an agreement that he's making with God. If you will keep me and provide for me, then all that I receive, I'll give back a tenth to you. Right? So tithes are given first, right? Not last of our income. Your tenth is given first of all income received, whether that's gross or net, right? That's up to you. And then the bills are paid with what's left over. And I already hear, but Keisha, but what if I don't have enough? That's why you tithe, right? Because you are inviting God's supernatural presence into your affairs to open a way for opportunities to come to you so that you can meet those obligations. So we tithe first and pay what bills we can with the supply that's on hand, right? We treat the available supply as the desired supply. And if it seems like it's not enough, then we have invited God, the universe, the supernatural force, to come into our matter and augment it and us so that we will be able to meet that need. And I think this is the back and forth, or one of them that makes it so hard for people. But this is also where you grow your faith and trust. And this is why I say tithing isn't necessarily, we start our spiritual journey and we're partner with God in our prayer and meditation. Like we come that far, right? But when it comes to our matter, it's a little bit different. We feel like, we have to, the physical world where we give our attention makes it seem like its demand is greater, and so it should be first. But if you've walked long enough and far enough on the spiritual journey, then you know that, one, God is the source of our supply, and it is the universe that is first that supports us as we go along that walk. So if it is that you decide, I can't tithe because I don't have enough, then what you're saying is your faith is in yourself and it's in the physical experiences that you're having, and then you're giving your power to that limited capacity, right? That's why we invite God into our matter by tithing. So if you give your tithe, but then later think, I wish I had that money back, then you haven't really given it, because you've mentally asked for it back. You're mentally trying to spend it somewhere else. Instead, the way that you meet that need is saying, instead of saying, I wish I had that back, it becomes the conversation, God, I trust you as the source of my supply. I have faith enough that you will show me how to meet this need. You're either going to open a way for me to receive it, or you're going to give me the guidance so that I can meet it successfully. This is how you now have a conversation with God in meeting your needs after you've tithed. This is also where you call on the promises of God. Remind him, right? God, you said in Malachi 3:10 and 11, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open up the windows open up for you the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that there shan't be enough room to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer of your stakes. And he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. Right? Malachi 3:10 is saying, look, God's telling you, bring ye the tithe, give me my due. And I will pour out so many blessings for you that you won't have room enough to receive it. Not only that, I'm going to provide you protection so that these things that are important to you will not go fallow and not go foul. Right? So you remind God of his promises. You tell God, hey, look, I need you to show up for me. I trust that you are going to show up for me. And I am grateful that you're showing up for me. And I can't wait to see how this unfolds. Right? That's the difference in the conversation between somebody who's, I'm not going to tithe. No. Versus, yeah, I tithe. It gives you spiritual financial confidence. Okay. Tithing is an act of faith and trust. It calls you to have or to create a deeper connection with your Creator. It is to be done and given consciously and joyously, right? We don't give and then mentally take it back, or we don't give begrudgingly, like I have to, right? It's, hey, this is I'm excited. I'm excited to give this 10% to partner with God in my matter, because God is God. One with God is a majority. This can only be good, right? There's excitement in that. There's joy. There is expectancy in that. That's where we need to be. I'll draw another verse for you because this is one that I really like. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 and 7. But I say this, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly. And he which shall soweth bountifully shall also reap bountifully. Every man according to his purpose in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity. For God loveth a cheerful giver. Right? We give in joy. We give in love. Not because we have to. Not because, we're afraid if we don't. No, we do it because we want to. So once you've decided to tithe, the question then becomes where? Where to? Who do I give it to? And that's when we go back to our original definition, right? Partnering with God in our matter by giving 10% to the person or place where we are being spiritually nourished or supported, or spiritually fed. So the question then is, where are you finding your spiritual support? Who introduced you to the practice and explained the concept to help you reach a greater understanding with your Creator? Who or from what source do you find, reminds you of the truth of your being, right? Who or what was the source of the words of comfort and support you relied on during a particularly challenging life moment? What teaching or teacher gave you a lesson that makes the difference in who you are and how you act? The answer to those questions, that's your answer of where to tithe to. Right? And that's where you want to give consistently, right? Until you feel guided otherwise. Let that sink in. But Keisha, I get messages from everywhere. Because I have heard this one before. Yeah, you do and you don't. This is where you need to be real with yourself. Because when we're at this level, we're not playing games, okay? You need to be real with yourself. First of all, if you are accepting the idea of tithing, it is very likely, more than likely, that Spirit has already told you where to tithe to, who it should be, right? And if you're honest and haven't gotten guidance on who you should give your tithe to, but you know that you've been guided to tithe, then you set the tithe aside and give it to where you're guided when you get that guidance. Okay. If your true and authentic guidance is to a person and not a church, for instance, and your initial thought is a rebuff, or you need to ask why, then that points to a block within you about money. And that's a limiting belief that you'll need to resolve in order to experience greater prosperity, in which case tithing is already doing its perfect work. So what do I mean? If you get guidance to give to a person and you say, no, like, why would I give to, like, they're just another person? First of all, they're not just another person, because you're only going to be guided to give to this, again, back to those questions, to the source of your spiritual nourishment. Who is providing you these concepts? Where are you getting these ideas? Who is providing the word of comfort that gets you through a tough situation, right? If something within you says, no, I'm not going to do that, not to that person, then you need to dig a little deeper and ask why. Why is that your response? What is it about that makes you feel the way that you do? And that answer is different for everyone, so I can't give examples for what that would look like. But you need to dig into that, because behind that is a limiting belief that is keeping you from experiencing greater prosperity in general. And that is one of the ways in which tithing is already being a benefit to you. Okay. It's not so much that it's the magic wand that, okay, I tithe, so I'm going to do all these blessings and all this money. Because you're now engaging with this conscious application, it's going to encourage you to examine limiting beliefs that you have around money. And every time you notice one of those limiting beliefs, the more that you can ask why and excavate it and resolve it. And I've done hundreds of videos already on this subject. Then you will release those binds and create a greater openness and space for allowing greater prosperity to move into and through you. But Keisha, why am I going to give to a church? Church doesn't need my money. God doesn't need my money. I hear this one a lot too. Yes, you're right. God doesn't need your money. The tithe isn't for God. The tithe is the vehicle for you in which you grow your faith and trust in the universe. Okay. But I already have faith and trust in the universe. That may be true to some level, to some degree, but not if you balk at the sharing of 10% of your income with the source of your spiritual nourishment. Okay. And if when you're thinking about, well, it's because you don't like where or how the money would be spent, then ostensibly you wouldn't be a member of that church. Right? And if it's to a person, then it shouldn't matter how they might spend it, because it's a gift and you're giving it freely. And once they receive it, they're able to do with it as they please. Because this goes back to being a cheerful giver. You haven't truly given a gift if you're looking at and judging how it's spent. Right? If you do that, then it's not a tithe, it's a bribe. And the difference is in the intention and your freedom and release when you give it. You giving your tithes allows the person or institution to live a normal life while they hold space and do God's work, right? So we see that in the 2nd Chronicles. This is chapter 31, verse 4. He ordered the people living in Jerusalem to give a portion due to the priests do the priests and Levites so they could devote themselves to the laws of God, or laws of the Lord. We notice too, like if you go back to, well, it's one of the first 5 books. It might be Deuteronomy. I can't, my numbers, it might be Deuteronomy, where, 10 of the 11 tribes are given parcels of land, right? But the Levites, the 11th tribe, are not given land. They're given the tithes of all of the other tribes, right? The Levites are the spiritual, the spiritual class of the Israelites. And this is because they need to be supported while they do the work of spirit and hold space for you, so that when you are in need of spiritual nourishment, either it can be freely given because they have the time and the space to do that, or when you come to them with an issue, they're able to provide that assistance, right? So that's pretty much tithing in a I think that covers the concept of tithing. And if you have more questions, definitely leave them in the comments, because this is one of my favorite topics. I am so happy. I'm so happy not only to share it, but like to engage in the conversation. So if you have questions, I'm definitely open to having that conversation discussion. So one of the things that I hear often when introducing the concept of tithing is, okay, yeah, I've got a number of charities I can give to. Giving to charity is not tithing. Tithing goes to the source of your spiritual nourishment and your support. It goes to the source of your spiritual abundance. Charity is giving to need. I think you all understand the difference between spiritual abundance and need. Okay. So if you're giving with this intention and partnering with God in, with your Creator, and this partnership is going to magnify your intention, then would you rather the increase be in your supply, or would you like to see an increase in greater need? Right? I'll remind you what Jesus said: the poor will be with you always. Okay? And it's, you put on your oxygen mask first, and then you attend to someone else. You give to the source of your spiritual nourishment first. Pay your bills. And if charity is part of that, you include that in the bills and they get paid. Or if you delineate it, tithe first, bills, and then what's left over, I give to charity. If there's nothing left over, then you ask to be shown greater how you can, what blessings can you accept that will allow you to give greater? Or you volunteer rather than give money, or you find something else of yourself to give until you're able to give money to those charities. Right? This is not me saying screw charity. No. I don't want anyone to come away with that idea. And because God is your greater partner, you are always going to have more to share and give with. The directive is, I welcome God enough to spare and share, right? And so giving first to the source of your supply provides for you and your needs at a greater level. And if you're including others in that, then you should be able to provide for them as well, right? To spare and share. So along with tithing, we have a sister set of giving, and that is offerings. Now, offerings are given over and above your tithe, or, they would be in addition to, they're not, the first requirement of the law is the tithe. Offerings are given as you so choose, if you so choose. And metaphysically, there are 3 different types of offerings, where think of an offering as an act of gratitude for the activity of God working in and through you. So I mentioned the 3 types of offerings in metaphysics. You've got your faith offering, which is usually made at the beginning of an endeavor to encourage or ensure a successful outcome. You have your thank offering given at the successful completion of an endeavor. That's just an offering of pure gratitude, right? And then you have a love offering, where that's an offering of general appreciation. An example would be, if you notice in my description box, I have, I thank you for your tithes and offerings. They help make this work possible, and I am incredibly appreciative. Someone may not yet be at the level of consciousness where they are ready to tithe, but they appreciate the work that I've done and the message that I've shared and how that's positively impacting their life. And so they may break me off a piece. That's a love offering. That's a love offering, and that is appreciated, right? In some cases where there may be a set price for a service, but because I recognize, hey, I don't want you to not get the service you need because of money, not being able to meet that particular threshold, pay what you can as a love offering, right? So suggested service price might be $95, but this is a love offering basis, so you give what you can, right? That's an example of a love offering. And all of these are great, and they all have their purpose, right? One of the reasons that I have held off on doing this video, because this has been in the back of my mind for years, because this is an exchange, right? There's give, and I wanted to make sure that we had a firm foundation before stepping into this conversation. Because as much as tithing is foundational to the overall concept of prosperity consciousness, it is most definitely an advanced concept, because it's going to encourage you to grow greater. It's a deepening of your relationship with matter. And as a teacher and master of this discipline, I would do you a disservice to not talk about it and to not present you with this avenue of exchange, right? When I say your tithes and offerings make this work possible, that is the truth, as is me being so grateful. So, yes, my Zelle handle is in the description box. There is a donate button on my website. And now you have an understanding of why they're there and what they're for, right? Any questions that you have, again, I say this again, questions you have or comments, please leave them down below, because this is a great topic. It's a rich one, and I love it. And I am here for your questions, and I am glad to give some guidance and insight. I will also leave in the description box, I'll leave a list of these Bible verses in case you wanted to find them on your own, and maybe a few others that I think are interesting and instructive. And I'll also include a couple of titles that you can reference. L.E. Meyer's book, As You Tithe, So You Prosper, I think is a fantastic one. Catherine Ponder, I think absolutely. Tithing is mentioned in every Catherine Ponder book, and she has, tens of stories about, what happens to the tither when they make their tithe, and what happens to those who don't. They notice finances go all crazy, and things get tangled and awry. And then they realize that, they stopped tithing because they felt like, I'm good, I'm fine. And turns out that they needed to go back to, leave with the one that brung him. Like, you got to keep doing the thing that brings you to the point of success. You don't get to stop just because, I'm not successful, I can do this on my own. No, I mean, if God got you there, you got to keep dancing with him, right? So yeah, so I'll include a list of those sources as well. What else? I think that's all for now. And I will say, as I always do, I'll see you back here with another video fairly soon. And I will love you in the meantime. Bye.